Good day and welcome to Predators Proclivity, where during the season, when the Predators are playing, we look at data from the season for the NHL Nashville Predators and make comments upon it. I'm your host, Preston Proctor. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Jumping back a day, may the 4th be with you. And so not much NHL Predators news. Back middle of April, defenseman number 5, Andreas Englund, did get a 1-year contract for $775K. His previous contract was $1 million, so he was. I think he came over from Vegas, so he had a little bit bigger contract when he came over. But they signed him to $775, so. That's good. No other signings. Still have a couple of unrestricted free agents. I kind of expected more going on, I guess, from the Preds with the season being over. Maybe they're waiting for the Milwaukee Admirals season to be over before doing a lot of that. The number of players like Mark Del Gaizo and I think Kiefer Bellows are with Milwaukee right now, not helping them because they're 0-2 to the Rockford Ice Hogs. Milwaukee did get a first-round bye. Rockford had to get by the Chicago Wolves. They beat them in 2 straight games. And so then they've beaten Milwaukee in 2 straight games. So there's 3. This is a best of 5. Interesting, the ECHL, they're playing a best of 7, but in the AHL, they're playing best of 5. Maybe, the divisional finals will be will be more 7 games, but right now they're just playing the best of 5. Most of the teams seem to have gotten in. I think out of 32 teams, like 23 teams in the AHL got into the playoffs. Said Milwaukee Admirals, the AAA affiliate of the Predators, did get a first-round bye, won their division, and now they're down 0-2. Not surprising for some reason. Moving to the ECHL, the Atlanta Gladiators, Nashville's ECHL, I guess basically the AA, the East Coast Hockey League, where is not really the East Coast anymore. It's all over the place, but I guess one of the best teams, the South Carolina Stingrays. I went down to Charleston and saw the Stingrays play the Gladiators, and the Stingrays didn't make it out of the first round. They lost to the Orlando Solar Bears 4-3. 4-3. Had they won, they would have played the Florida Everblades. As it is, my current favorite ECHL team, the Tahoe Night Monsters. That's Night with a K. Awesome logo. Oh my gosh. They swept their first round series against the Wichita Thunder and are playing the Kansas City Mavericks. They played last night. The Mavericks won, I believe. But yeah, so not much going on with the Predators right now. Not sure when things will move forward with them. But hey, that's the Predators. And what's going on now? Well, round 2 finally gets to start after Dallas and Winnipeg both had to go to Game 7 to win. If you remember, I predicted Dallas would go 7. I was pretty sure that Dallas, if they were gonna win, and I felt like they would take 7 games because they came into the playoffs really kind of limped into the playoffs, I guess would be the best way to put it. And but surprising for Winnipeg that they came in and took 4 games. Good on St. Louis. I was watching that last night, and oh my gosh, Winnipeg was down 2 goals, 3-1, with several minutes to go and pulled their goaltender, I think, with over 3 to go. And with the minute 55, they scored 1 goal. And I think with like 2 seconds left, like a second and a half, got the tying goal, which sent them to overtime and then eventually double overtime where Winnipeg did win it. Very tiring game. So I hope they get a couple days off. It looks like today we got the Panthers and Maple Leafs, and tomorrow the Oilers and Knights play along with the Hurricanes and Capitals, and then come Wednesday, Dallas and Winnipeg will play along with Florida and Toronto. So they get a couple of days there to recover. I'll run through those matchups here in a minute. I want to just go back and recap what I predicted in the first round. And I think I did pretty good. I picked the winner correctly 6 out of 8. As I said, I didn't pick any upsets. And I don't know, would you call a 3 seed beating a 2 seed an upset? I don't know. I think Florida beating Tampa Bay in 5, I think that's a surprise. Florida winning, I guess, is not really a surprise. I did pick Tampa Bay. I think either of those teams winning wouldn't be a surprise, but Florida winning in 5, I think really was thought that Tampa Bay would show up a lot better. And then, of course, the Kings broke my heart again, losing to Edmonton in the playoffs again. They just can't seem to get past Edmonton. They won the first 2 games and then lost 4 straight. Just awful. Edmonton did change their goaltender. They went with Pickard. Or Pickard, I don't know how you pronounce his name. I have to say Pickard, being the Star Trek fan that I am. But Pickard, whatever his name is, Pickard, he came in for the last 4 games and wound up winning. They had beaten Pickard in one of the last games that they played in the season was against Edmonton, in Edmonton, where the Kings won, the Kings being a not-so-good road team this season. But they weren't able to beat Pickard in the playoffs. So that's, like I said, that kind of broke my heart. But I got the number of games correct, 3, and 3 of them, which I guess is, I guess I think that's good. I don't know. But I did have Washington in 5, and Washington did win in 5. I had Toronto in 6, and they did win in 6. I had Tampa Bay in 6, and of course it was Florida in 5, so I missed both of those. I had Carolina in 6, and it wound up being Carolina in 5. Was that what? Did I get 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Carolina in 5. And what they had to go to double overtime twice in that series, but they pulled it out in 5. Then back over here in the West, Winnipeg in 6 and Winnipeg in 7 is what happened. So got the right team, wrong number. I thought Vancouver would be the most likely sweep of the series, 5 or 4 or 5. 5 or 4 is what I wrote, but it was 6, so I got the number of games wrong. I had Dallas in 7, and then I had the Kings in 6. And so 2 of the matchups, I just totally blew it. If I got the team wrong, I got the number of games wrong too. So what are you going to do? But that was the first round. And so what did I do last year? Last year, I picked the winner correctly in 6 of the matchups, and only got the number of games correct in 2 of them. So better in games correct this year, but about the same. the same as last year as far as picking the winner. All right. So what do we have for round 2? We have the Metropolitan 1 versus 2, the Atlantic 1 versus 3, the Central 1 versus 2, and the Pacific 1 versus 3. So no wild card team made it to the second round. That's fine. Carolina number 4 in the East and Florida 5. So we've got 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 5. Tampa Bay being the third. And just overall in the conference. Winnipeg number 1 in the conference and number 1 in the league. Let's not forget that, versus Dallas, that was number 3 in the conference, and then we've got Vegas, that was number 2 in the conference, versus Edmonton, that was 6th in the conference. So we've got 1 versus 3 and 2 versus 6 basically in the Western Conference Finals. As I said, the Florida-Toronto series starts tonight. The other Eastern Conference matchup starts tomorrow, and the first Western Conference matchup starts tomorrow, and then the second one starts on Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all of the series will have started. And what do we expect? Well, okay, so taking a look at we'll start in the Eastern Conference again. Number 1, Washington versus number 4, Carolina. They were 2-2 this year against each other, home and home. So the home team won in each of those series, and then taking a look at their records, they're very similar. Home and away, Carolina actually a better home team, 31-9-1 to Washington's pathetic 26-9-6. So they had a lot more overtime losses. They had 5 overtime losses. That makes the difference between those two teams. And then on the road, the Capitals are the better team, 25-13-3 to Carolina's really poor 16-21-4. They have a losing record. Here they are in the second round of the playoffs with a losing record on the road in the regular season. Now, as far as, how did that play out in the playoffs? Well, Carolina did win in 5. They started out at home, won the first 2 home games, lost in double overtime on the road, then won on the road, and then came back and won it at home. As I said, I haven't said it in this particular podcast, but the NHL does a 2-2-1-1-1. Looking at some of the other leagues, it looks like the ECHL still does the 2-3-2. The AHL, interesting. I think it's because of travel, but some of the teams that have really wild travel, the lower seed actually got the first 2 games. So they play the first 2 games at the lower seed, and then they go to the home team. The team with home ice gets the final 3. Otherwise, they do like Milwaukee and Rockford. It's not as much travel. They did 2 in Milwaukee. They're going to do 2 in Rockford, and then the final game will be back in Milwaukee. So just kind of interesting. I think that's kind of an interesting way to do it, that the lower seed gets 2 home games to start things off. But I guess they definitely minimize the travel in those particular situations. But here in this case, Carolina did manage to win 1. They had to go to double overtime to win it, and then they closed it out in 5. So they didn't have to go on the road too much and prove that they could win on the road. So I'm feeling like this series, the Washington-Carolina series, is going to be kind of, again, the home and home. and I've got Washington in 7. I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely going to be Washington. But yeah, I think 7. I think Carolina is going to play really well. The Frederick Anderson just signed a contract, a 1-year contract, but he got injured. I was in the 4th game, the 3rd game. I forget. He got injured in that series and got carried off, basically. But he's back and probably not starting, but he is available to play, which is good for Carolina. They've got their 2 goaltenders available for the games against Washington, but I think that one's going to go 7. I think Washington in 7. My cousin will be happy for that. And moving on to the Toronto-Florida matchup, number 2 Toronto versus number 5 Florida. Those are the standings in the conference. And interesting, yeah, Florida was 1-3 or 3-1 against Toronto. So Toronto was 1-3 against Florida. Florida won the first. Was it? Got listed those wrong, but yeah, Florida won 3 of the 4 matchups this year, and both of those teams. Let's take a quick look at their record: Toronto and Florida. Toronto, their home records about the same: 27-13-1, 27-12-2. Toronto, the better road team, 25-13-3, and Florida 20-19-2. So Florida just barely a winning record on the road. And then Washington took care of business in 5 games. Toronto took care of business in 6. So Ottawa actually kind of pushed them a little bit. The 3 of those games, 3 straight games went to overtime. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So Florida got out to a 3-0 lead, and then Ottawa came back and won 2 in a row. So Toronto really got pushed by Ottawa there. Florida does have will be missing one of their top defensemen, Aaron Ekblad, who is got a 2-game suspension. He's already served 1, so he will be out the first game of this series and serving out that suspension. I think this one's. I think this one is going to be Florida in 6. I think Florida has Toronto's number, and yeah, I just think I mean both teams are playing well. They had good seasons. But I just think I think Florida is playing up to the level they found the level that they were playing at for most of the season when they were winning the conference, winning the division, and won the Stanley Cup last year. So I think they're going to be tough to beat, and I don't think Toronto is going to do it. But I think it will be Florida in 6 in that matchup. As for the Western Conference, we got Winnipeg and Dallas. Winnipeg 3-1 over Dallas. Dallas's 1 win was back in December in Dallas. Other than that, Winnipeg has won all of them 4 goals to something, 4-1, 4-1, 4-0. Both of these teams are missing players, though. Dallas's left wing Jason Robertson, who's first in goals. He's day-to-day. Also, defenseman Miro Heiskanen, he's listed as out, first in time on ice. Neither of those guys have played in the postseason so far. So, has it hurt them? Though they got through the first series, in 7. Winnipeg has 3 players that are out or day-to-day or listed as injured, I guess would be the way to put it. Center Mike Scheifele, who's second in just about everything, assists, goals, whatever, shots, all that kind of stuff. Defenseman Josh Morrissey, who's first in time on ice in the regular season anyway, hasn't gotten that much playing time in the playoffs because he's injured. And then defenseman Logan Stanley, who's first in penalty minutes in the regular season. So those 3 players for Winnipeg are out. So Dallas has got 2 out. Winnipeg has got 3. So I think that's kind of a wash, assuming they're all out or they all come back. I think it would definitely be an advantage for whatever team to get those players back. But I think Dallas has hit their stride. I have Dallas in 6. And both of these teams just, had Game 7s. So I think they're all on equal footing. But I think Dallas has just found their game. And Winnipeg, they went 7 against St. Louis. And I know St. Louis played well. I think Dallas has found their form, and I think that's going to be Dallas over Winnipeg in 6. As far as Vegas and Edmonton, this one really bothers me because I don't really care for either team. I'd like to see them both lose. In the regular season, they were 2-2 against each other, and no particular order. They, I guess, Vegas won the first 2 and then lost the second 2. So they won at Edmonton, won in Edmonton, won in Vegas, lost in Edmonton, lost in Vegas, and nothing too shocking there. Edmonton is missing defenseman Mattias Ekholm, ex-Predator. Mattias Ekholm, he is listed as being out for the entire second round, not expected to be back. So I guess that really kind of depends on how long the second round goes, right? But yeah, just the prognosis on him is that he's out in the second round. And like I said, neither of these teams thrill me. Edmonton has a little better away record, 23-16-2 to Vegas's 21-13-7. Vegas has the better home record, 29-9-3 to Edmonton's 25-13-3, but they're fairly close. I hate this. I feel like I have to pick Edmonton in 6. I don't want to. I really don't. But that's kind of the only higher seed team I'm picking is Washington, which ought to bother me, but that's what I've picked. And I wasn't in a rush when I did it. So, it's the playoffs, man. It's the playoffs. So all these teams are good. Just kind of, I would prefer the Kings be playing Vegas, but they're not. Actually, I would prefer the Kings playing Minnesota, and then that way I wouldn't have to deal with either Vegas or Edmonton. But there you go. Didn't get that choice. Nobody asked me, and I didn't get to ref the games or anything. So that's what we got, Edmonton in 6. So as far as what I did last year, I guess I just totally tanked on doing predictions for the second round. Must have been able to see that the Rangers were going to play Carolina, and so that's the only series I predicted. I thought the Rangers would win in 7, but the Rangers won in 6. So I guess there you go. I got and I was 1,000% in my predictions on the team, and zero nada on number of games. So take that for what it's worth. Yeah, so that's I'd be interested to see how things work out this time. I feel now that I've talked through it, I feel really bad about my picks, but I like Winnipeg. I like Dallas. I can't. What are you going to say? But I do really feel like Dallas is hitting their stride, and they're a good team. They were one of the best teams in the league. There at the end, they had a shot at winning the President's Cup, winning the conference, and then had a negative slide. Wound up third in the conference when they should have at least been second in the conference. So not that it mattered at that point, but not really the way you want to go into the playoffs. But like I said, I think they've gotten their stride. Winnipeg might have just had a wake-up call. Dallas is going to be a tough battle for them. So that one I actually feel pretty good about. I really think Washington is going to win. So I feel good about that pick. Florida over Toronto, I actually feel good about that one too, frankly. I guess it's just this Edmonton-Vegas pick that's when I look at the picks overall, if I switch the Vegas-Edmonton to Vegas, I don't think I'd feel better about picking so many, I guess, would you call them upsets? I don't know. I think they're upsets if they happen early. I think if you go 7 games, it's not necessarily an upset. The wild card team beating somebody in the first round, that would be an upset. But a 2 beating a 3, I don't really think that's an upset. 1 beating or 5 beating a 2. Yeah. I don't know. It's the second round. If Florida beats Toronto in 4 or 5, yeah, I think you call that an upset. 6 or 7, maybe not. Anyway, so that's our predictions for the second round of this year's playoffs. I hope y'all are doing well. Don't party too much. Cinco de Mayo. It is a Monday. So, take care out there, everybody, and thanks for listening. I'm Preston Proctor. You've been listening to Predators Proclivity.